You can see right here we got a solid 1 hour. We're on the 200 moving average, which is also nice. Um, it's kind of leveling out here. And what we're looking for here is the first thing we do once we get our 1 hour, um, price trend, meaning there's price action here. So this is starting to build consolidation. And after consolidation, there's been a lot of buyers, sellers, people deciding that, okay, this is going to be a price that they deem as far as like what AVAX is worth right now. So now we're getting the price action to where it's starting to be slightly better for the buyers, right? And as you can see here, the other bonus that we have is that we're above our 10 moving average here on the white line. So
Hmm.
that means we're in an uptrend here. So we're looking pretty good. And now we have to take a look and say, okay, so this looks good, that looks good. So let's go check out our volume. So the first thing we're going to do on the MACD is take a look here and see like as far as like the volume for buying, right, or selling. So here we go, and all of a sudden we see a great increase in the opposite direction, right? So which means like we're going to be getting a move here. So that to me, this move here shows me that there's probably going to be a tweak in the movement of AVAX. So normally I would take this trade in here because of the MACD moving so much, right? Now another thing is getting to, and you can see here I marked this line here to where we were looking at it, and look at AVAX starting to go, and this would kind of be the patience, right, of to what you're looking at. So, and this is where I'm gonna kind of go over AVAX here to show you what I'm kind of seeing here. So now once I enter, I'm gonna move this up a little bit more because we are seeing a movement here. So that's kind of where AVAX is right now. But so when I take a look at this coin, I want to see as far as a couple things that matter, right? So first of all,
Wait, one question is your MACD looks a little bit different than my MACD. Is that weird?
go to your candles. Are you on candles
Uh-huh.
or are you on Hakinashi?
You're doing Hakinashi?
Yeah. Are you on those?
No. Okay, now it looks the same.
Okay. So, you know, right here we're getting our nice little move here. And
Mhm.
we're going to get this little bounce here in between where we're going up and down. Now, for us, would be looking at this going, okay, a couple things that I look at is like, what's the time of the day? How are the trading right now, right? So if people don't know that, the one thing I threw inside the actually it should be in the indicators. All right, so in the indicators here, I threw this little baby pips thing for everyone to learn. And all this basically is it tells you what, you click on it, gives you the date time, right? So right now we're 2:38 Central Time, 12:38 your time, right? But it lets you know right here as you're looking, Sydney is starting to open their market, New York's starting to come to an end, and as far as trading, this is where we're kind of getting in our trading zone. So a lot of times in the beginning of a market in the opening, you'll see some type of rallies, and it's normally a reversal of what happened earlier. So if there's a market that did a bunch of moves up, the next market normally sells down to create the new space for buyers or sellers. You know what I mean? They like kind of
Mhm.
like, it's just money, right? They like to make the markets, move in a position to where if this market these hours were all sells, then they push it up, and then the next market pulls it back down, right? And they go back and forth until there's some type of catalyst or something that breaks through, etc. Right? So right now, looking at the time here, it is a decent time as far as New York's coming to a close, which means they're going to make some trades. They're probably going to push some markets up. Sydney, since everything was kind of stagnant all day, consolidating, they're probably going to make a move to where they start buying things because it's showing a dip. And then we got Tokyo. So through this time till 8 o'clock, we're probably going to see some upward motion in here, and then it'll go into some type of reverse. Now for us, we look at the trading time and we go, okay, well, pretty good. So the first thing we want to do here is we want to break above this, middle part here to where the MACD actually becomes a positive part. And I like to look at a coin as far as like what has it done before, right? And this is kind of like just doing the basics of, the research of looking at, okay, I'm looking at this coin, what does it normally do and what has the runs done before? And that's why, kind of getting in there for you guys is where the basics are, right? So if we take a look here, let's go back and we'll pull back a little bit of this week and see what Avax has been doing, right? So we can kind of understand when the 1 hour goes green, is it a valuable, marker, right? And when you pull back, you go, okay, here's my green, but this wasn't green, so it really didn't make a move. I got another alert. It was a slight move, and you can just test the move. Just go over here and go, okay, if I would have got this alert and I would have played this, right? And let's see if these moves are making any type of money, because that's the first thing I want to know is if this coin is actually producing profits, right? So here's this alert. We normally would enter on this next candle. So let's just take a look here at this candle and say, okay, what would have been the effects if I would have got into this candle and I would have got into here? Let me see what this actually would have made. So I would have got in here. And remember, I'm looking for, this is a 20x, right? So if we go to our futures, we can see right here that this future is a 20x option, right? So that's kind of like the most you can do on this is 20x. So that's not bad. That's what we want, meaning that we need a 1% move, right? Mm-hmm. So then we go here. We see if we get into a really bad trade, what we have been able to do. This trade would have bring us into this particular candle. So let's see what this candle did. So this candle was able to get us close to a point 0.8, right? So almost a 1%. So this is where kind of getting into the mindset of like, okay, you have to start taking those profits when you start seeing that close to that 20% mark, moving your stop loss, playing it tight, right? Now, I can look at this and go, okay, this was a interesting trade. Would I really have got into this trade, right? And I say, okay, turns green, this is red. I wouldn't have gotten this trade anyways. So, but it does show that even in a bad trade, it's very possible to make a 1% move. So now we come over here, we get a green here, which means we probably would have jumped into this candle here. Now these aren't red.
Even though the MACD wasn't green?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is theoretically, I'm just saying, let's say if I'm just playing these 1 hour greens, right? What happens if I'm not waiting on my MACD, right? Worst case scenarios kind of play, right? So here you go, red, boom, boom, turns green here, moves up, showing some type of positive volume, and then I can say, okay, so if I would have just played this 1 hour alert, I would have got in here on this candle here and would have got my 1%. And here I can see that I would have got a 1% move there, even in a poor condition, right? Mm-mm. So that's not too bad. That's showing me that this coin has good movement. So now we go along and say, okay, I wait. I wouldn't have gotten this trade because this wasn't ready. So I would have stayed out of this trade anyways. No harm, no foul. Moving on to the next one, right? So what I'm doing here is just basically reviewing myself with this particular coin to see if it's, what it is, right? So just going through the system of saying to myself, okay, when would I get in? And now we get to another point where we have our 1 hour turns green, and then finally the MACD goes positive. You see how it's on the positive side, right? Mm-hmm. Finally crossed over and it went to the positive side. So then I say, okay, well, let's see what happens if I actually would wait until this goes positive. Let's say that we get in on this candle here, not even this one here. So let's say we get in on the other side. We would have seen our 1.5%, 2% move here. And that's kind of where we want to be here. So this is looking good. So this coin is showing that it is a coin that we can look at so far and say, okay, this thing does some profit here. So it's not bad. So now let's keep moving across the board. And what I'm doing here is just familiarizing myself with the price action of this coin to see, does it make money? That's it. You know what I mean? Is this worth trading, right? And then I'll do some things like I'll just take note of the time, right? So this pump came in at 2100, meaning that 9 o'clock at night. So this was a 9 o'clock run, okay? 9 o'clock at night for me. I'm like, okay. So I'm just making mental notes, right? Keep a notebook, put it on the side, and kind of put that for yourself so that way you're making mental notes. So Avax had a pump at 9 o'clock at night. So now we go back over here, and once again, we have our 1 hour, but we also now once again our MACD is on the positive side, right? So I can take a look here and go, okay, let's see if this made money. So here's my alert, the next candle. So we'll go off, in between these two candles here. And all I want to see is if I would get my 1% move, which I did. Not bad. And that's the day. So, okay. So once again, Avax was able to deliver what it was supposed to do. So let's go down here. And so far, I'm liking this coin because it's showing me that when it does have the right conditions, it's actually winning, right? Once again, I come here, my green, the indicators are up north of what we need. Let's go to this top coin, and all I'm doing here is just getting an ideal of if this coin makes money, right?
And then the BC, would you recommend for someone who's kind of new that you wait for all three greens, like the green buy, the
yeah,
green
because
buy, the
that's
green Mac, the R, what's it called, X trend, and the green MACD?
yeah, so the indicators, especially with the first three, you want to roll with the first three where you're like, you want all those to be in a positive situation, right? And the one thing I want to show you here is that as we go through, the RSI is showing you what's oversold and what's, undersold, right? So these moments here where we are getting a positive, price action trend and we're getting our MACD on the positive, our RSI is at the top of the line here, right? And that's
Yeah.
causing us to get very short 1% moves, right? So as we're going along here, we are seeing good moves out of this coin. We're just seeing a very tight, very tight 1%. And this is another thing where people kind of have to understand, like that's why you have to take that 1% gain, is simply because that's what it's giving you. You know what I mean? So here we would basically once again get an alert, but we're not green, so we would pass, and then we would just keep going down, and then finally, we get another alert, and we're watching this coin, and then finally here we see where this finally goes green. All right, we finally get to a part where we should make a trade. So in this particular move here, this is the trade that we would actually be in. So we go here, we get an alert way down here, we keep tracking it, we keep it on our spectrum. So every hour we come back and we take a look at this because we do have a 1 hour alert, and we just put it in our book to check it, or we keep the chart open, right? And eventually it moves down, and then finally, boom, it turns green here, right? So what this does for us now that we have our MACD's green, plus we're green on the other thing, we have both indicators. So we would get somewhere into this position here. We'll go halfway up just to kind of say like, all right, we're getting into a medium position, nothing special. So let's say we're getting in over here, right? Now right away we can see that this particular move basically paid out for us because we got our 1%, but we were heading towards our 2%, right? And this is staying green for us. We would have been moving through here, and this is the one that you could have stayed with until you go orange, and then you're just moving your stop loss up. So somewhere in here you would have took a 1.5, 2% gain and been happy, or you would have had your 1%, which would have been down in this area here. And these are where the guys are learning how to kind of like stretch out their stop losses, right? All depending on where they get in, they're putting their stop losses and they're trying to run. Now, me personally, anytime there's like big pushes, and then as soon as this goes into a red zone, I'm just taking my profit. So I would have took my 1.5% and I would have moved on. And then the ideal is to wait for it to play out its move. Wait for it. It goes yellow again. Notice how the RSI comes all the way down, right? Our RSI is now coming down, and then We see here it's at the bottom and starts to move up. This is another play where we could get in and say, okay, we went orange, we just turned green again, we're still green. This candle is great, so we'd be entering on this candle here. So we already made our 1% over here, but now is another re-entry for this particular play. And now this one makes a nice move for us to where, we end up getting a spike in here of 3%, etc. And what we're doing with our stop loss is every time it moves a percent, we move our stop loss. So this would have got the guys to a stop loss in a 2% mark right here. And that's another win for them. That's what they want. But that's double what they were looking for. Right?
Yeah.
Now they can turn
Yeah.
around.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
now, so just so you know, this will allow you to go down here and look at your RSI. Notice how your RSI is overbought, right? It breaks down, comes all the way down again, and when it tops to the bottom, you look over here, you're still green and you're still green. So when this RSI starts to head back up again, you can then say, oh, you know what? I'm going to ride this RSI and I'm going to jump in over here again, like off these candles. So even if you see this spike start to happen here, you can then turn back around and get in on this candle, and now you're catching another ride. Now this one actually pays off really nice. But this is
So
just,
let me ask you this: are we only trading on the 1 hour then?
yeah, now I want to show you kind of like as we go through here, a lot of times I'll get in on the 1 hour. And then what I'm looking for is basically, you see how this candle here would have been my sell zone. I would have sold in here, right? So a lot of times, I'm just going to put this line here. And what this is going to do is just let me know where I'm looking at my sell zone. My sell zone would have been in that area right there, okay? Let's see. So I would have sold on this particular candle here. Now, what I would do is I would say, okay, that's my sell. When I'm in there on a 1 hour, I like to go to like the 15-minute and kind of get into a position of like either a 5 or 15-minute to take profit, right? As soon as that kind of goes, red on me. And the reason why I put those lines in there is so that I can search for my position, right? Let's see what we got here. And my 1 hour. Ba ba ba.
Why don't you just do auto?
On the right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the all right. So this is the 23rd at 2 o'clock. All right. 23rd at 2 o'clock. All right. So we're gonna roll down here. And okay, here's what I'm looking for in this zone here, 2 o'clock. Was that right? The 13th? No, hold on. Yeah, Monday the 2nd. So this was on the 2nd at 2 o'clock. That's what I want. So what I'll be doing here is when I'm entered, if I'm in a play here, I would be looking for like the exit zones of that particular entry, right? A lot of times if I enter on a 1 hour, I will exit on a 15-minute, right? And that's what I want to kind of show you here. So on the 15 minutes, so I would have gotten here on the hour, right? And as these go up here, a lot of times I'm running off the 15-minute zone, right? And this to me would just be me moving my stop loss. Once I hit a certain number, I'm normally taking my profits. But so let's just say I don't close this out and I stay here because the 15 minutes still green, right? What happens is eventually when it goes red, it would be on this candle anyways. And that's where I would be taking my, notice how it crossed over anyways right there.
Yeah.
So it hit it anyways right there, see? So normally this turns red. It wouldn't be this candle that I would get out of. It would be the top of this candle here. So it's still the same out zone. So for me, a lot of times if I'm entering on the 1 hour, I'm looking for the out to be on the 15-minute.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then do we never get in on the 5 minute? Is
The
that too small of a play?
Yeah, because you know you can look at, and that's what I'm saying. Like it depends on the. You also want to take a look as far as like the coin, right? So if there's 5 minute plays that are making money, right? And the reason why I don't do the 5 minute on a lot of these smaller ones, you know, Bitcoin is something. It's a you know a bigger coin. You can do a 5 minute. A lot of times, you know, or you know, on a bigger coin, you want the larger time frames because they need to move further. If you're running a micro, right? So let's say something like, you know, like One Earth or something that's really cheap, you can look at your 5 minute plays and go, okay, are these 5 minutes making money? You know what I mean? Like, are they moving to where I'm making money on a 5 minute, right? And a lot of times, these little movements, if it's a really cheap coin, this would make money. But on a coin that's over, you know, $1, $2, these moves normally don't make money, right? So you got to remember, you're paying to do a trade. So you don't want to be
Yeah.
doing trades. What you want to be doing is the right trade. Like you want to be in the trade that actually makes money. Like that's the
Okay.
patience, right? And that's really what it comes down to is like getting yourself in a position where, okay, I'm not jumping into trades. I'm literally waiting on the trade. Like that's the whole thing, right? And this is where the concept of, you know, people are getting, you know, because they see everyone trading. So they're like, man, I want to get in a trade. We're not here to do trades. We're here to do winning trades, right? We're here to do one trade, you know, literally. So it's, you know, maybe, and that's what the concept is real simple. You know, the 10 trades has to happen in 14 days. So you got 14 days to find 10 good trades, which means you can have 4 days that you don't even trade.
Yeah.
So that's what people have to start wrapping their head around is that you don't have to trade. What you have to do is the job, right? So like it's like just working on a it's just like doing a job, right? If your job is to, you know, make a steak and the steak has to be 160, then that's what it has to be. Like you don't take the steak off the grill early because it's been 5 minutes. If it's been 5 minutes but it's not 160, you don't take it off the grill. Like
Yeah.
you just have to hit that protocol. Like that's just the way it is, right? That's where people are struggling as far as like you know, getting themselves to, you know, understand the concept. We're not trying to, you know, the concept isn't taking $1,000 and making a good trade to make $100, right? The concept
Mhm.
is to learn how to trade with 1,000, make $100 each time. And then after doing this successfully for 2 weeks, increasing the bag so the 100 becomes 150 and doing it for 2 weeks again. And that 150 becomes 300 and doing it again till where you're trading at $600 a day and you're just doing one trade. And eventually that becomes $1,200 a day. But it all starts with just doing the right trade, right? Because the more important thing is that as your bag gets bigger, you actually you have to trade even more securely. Like you don't want to get into any trades unless you have everything going for you because you're risking, you know, $5,000 on a trade. You know, so it's like
Yeah.
I don't want to lose $700 in 3 minutes. Like
Fair enough.
I need green, green, green. So what it is just like conditioning the people to basically go, okay, I need green, green, green. That's why we trade the 1 hour because when you start getting into the smaller time frames, people just start getting, you know, if they haven't learned how to gauge a profit of a coin, right? So this looks like a giant spike on a 5 minute. You're like, man, that was a big run. But if you go over to your, you know, long position and say, okay, I would have got in somewhere here on an alert, right? And you can go there and say, okay, this was a nice push. And you can trade these lower time frames, which are great, but you have to like really have everything going your way. So this would come in, your volume's coming up, and then all of a sudden you're finally green here, which means you would enter somewhere on these coins here.
Yeah.
So you would be getting in somewhere around here, and that would put you at not a bad gain, 5% on a big spike. And what happens is if you go and say, okay, that was a great move, right? But what about the moves that were coming in between? You have to go back and start going down the line, going, okay, all right, here we go. Here's another one. So would this trade have made me money? Spike green, green would have been here. I would have entered here. So which means in this coin, I would have been somewhere at least in this zone here. But see, that move was only worth
Yeah, not much.
not much, a 0.5%, right? Now the lower time frames, you just have to be disciplined as far as like just moving, just taking profit. Like as soon as it moves, you close out. Like you move up, right? So like here, you're waiting. It doesn't go green to here, but if you would have entered on that, right? This is where the problems start to come in because on the lower time frames, there's more losses than there are gains. So if you start pulling the trigger here, that's a 0.3. Now you need at least a 0.5% just to pay for the trade. All right, so now right here we're down, and let's say you didn't even move your stop loss and you got caught on that drop, man, you could lose 5-10% just on that drop, right? So that's why going with the 1 hour, it just basically so every time frame has a pullback, right? So no matter what happens on a 5 minute, there's going to be a push on a 5 minute, then a pullback, right? Then it's going to be a push and a pullback, right? That happens with everything. The 5 minute and then the 10 minute pullback and then the 15 minute pullback, right? So the ideal is when you're playing on the 1 hour time frame, you've already had all these consolidation pullbacks. And eventually it's getting to where when it finally goes green on the 1 hour, it's because it's already consolidated. There's real price action. Everything's, been boiling up and getting ready to actually make a move, And that's what we look for. The reason why we go to once we have the 1 hour time frame, right? So for instance, like we come to our 1 hour. Now, notice how we didn't go green here. So, and this is where we would have an entry position if we went off the green marker, right? So right now we'd be down this little move, which is about 10% on the overall 20x, right? Now, that's why it's important to wait here for the green. Now, the beautiful thing is that this is a consolidation thing, right? So if you come across here and you're on the 1 hour and you're like, oh, you know what? I've got my 50 moving average coming down, which means that this is still dropping. I've got my 200 moving average acting like support, right? So the reality is what we have here is called a channel, right? This is a consolidation move right here. So what's happening here is we're getting into where you can start like thinking as you get better, you can say to yourself, okay, this is consolidating, which means that in this zone here, and I'll make this smaller. And this zone here is where this coin is currently trading, right? So you could even say to yourself, as soon as it breaks out of this particular trend, right? And this is where trend lines come in if you're looking at, a breakout, right? And this would kind of be a simple trend line where you're starting to see a consolidation. And then right here, you would be playing this line right here, right? So this would give you a simple idea of the pyramid coming out. So this would be the breakout zone here. It's either going to break up or down in this area here. More than likely, if it hits this moving average, it's probably going to hit that moving average, come back down, and then eventually we'll see a breakout or a fall here, right?
Yeah. And we would expect a fall, right? Because the RSI is really high.
Right. So the other thing, exactly. So now we can take a look here and go, okay, we didn't break over on the positive side of the MACD plus our RSI. So the way to set up the RSI is real simple, right? The RSI moves on a 100, right? So normally when you get to a 100 zone, this is where you're going to see a rejection, right? So I like to put a horizontal line at the 100 and then at the 60. And the 30. So these are your points of kind of like support and resistance, right? Once it hits the 100, it can go flat for a while and then drop down. If it bounces off the 60, it's showing good. See how it bounced off the 60 there? So this shows us that there is some support here. So it looks like it is going to make a move. So this could be a nice. This looks like it's going to break out from where it's at. Now, depending on how much room it has to run, I would say that it breaks out, probably hits the 50 moving average, maybe spikes up to here, and that would be kind of my zone there. And then I feel like it would come back down and then work its way up to here. So this would give me an ideal here of like, just kind of like charting it out. And the charting side is something you can kind of add as you move along. To just kind of give you an ideal of like, all right, this is a scenario that could happen here. So that's kind of like where you would be looking at there. But now we're in a channel here where this coin is like literally bouncing in this zone here, right? So now, and that's why I said with the indicators, you don't have to worry about thinking about all that. But it's nice to look at it and go, okay, I got the support on the 200, which is the orange, right? And I got resistance on the 50.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I actually have a call in 2 minutes, but do you think we can continue this like tomorrow or the next week?
yeah, every
Because then
day.
I won't be able to. What I also get really bad at is understanding once I get the charts, then where I mess up a lot is entering the trade and getting out of the trade,
Yeah.
on KuCoin.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, and like, so here for us, we don't have the green here above here, so we can't even enter this. And that just allows us to, wait on this, right? Now, and a lot of times, once we get green, that's where we would go to these lower 3 minute time frames or the 1 minute, right? As you can see here, we're red here on the 3 minute. We're probably red on the 1 minute, right? So we're red and green. So this looks like right here, it's going to consolidate and come up, hit this wall again. And this is kind of play a game of bing, 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 bing. But see the 50 moving average right here, how it's hitting off of that and starting to come
AC,
down.
you can we? I have to go, so I don't know
Yeah,
if
no,
you heard
rock
me,
and roll.
but
So hop on tomorrow, man. We'll get on. Just text me every day
okay,
when you be like, hey, I'm free in an hour
okay,
or
sounds good,
whatever.
man.
All right, brother.
Okay, sounds good. Bye. So
All right, guys. So just taking another look here. We do have the avalanche here. Now it is going to be you can't buy into it yet simply because it is not ready to be bought into. Plus it has it's fighting this little zone here, but we need to go green on these entire areas. So it's just something you have to be patient. So even though we're getting alerts here and we're getting alerted that we have some buy zones, we have to, wait for those greens, right? That's the most important thing. Because right now the market's very, touchy. But this will give you an idea of once you see a consolidation channel, put it in there. And then this RSI is looking like it wants to break out. But we just need some positive MACD here. Once that happens over the next, I would say, hour, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a move here. So 1 second, 16. We'll go 15, 17, 16, 17. There we go. And then we could get a breakout here eventually. But that's what we're looking at as far as like Ava as the in play here. But we have to get some green here. We have to. We look good on the RSI and the 1 hour. It's just coming down to the fact that we are in a channel here, which is another thing that we can see. We're bouncing here, we're bouncing here. But what's going to happen is we're going to start bouncing in this little zone here. Now, normally as we're starting to move here, it looks like we're probably going to get a breakout here. Like I would say somewhere in here, once we cross this 50, we have to break this 50 here. So this would be the zone that we kind of get out of, and then we'll probably spike up to this number here. And that's where we want to see some type of, percent there. But we can't do anything until we go green here. and we're starting to see that here. It's starting to build solidly here, which is nice. But notice right there on that one little spike, our RSI touched the top. So that's probably going to show a little bit of a rejection in here, and we're probably going to consolidate a little bit. But I feel like we'll come down to this middle support line here once again, and then we'll probably see a build out from there. So I'm going to post this video, guys. But remember, we have to see green on green on green on green, right? Because right now the market's very, weak. It's going sideways. So that's kind of where we need to be as far as like getting ourselves in a position. It's just patience, right? I want to, go through that. This is about one trade at a time, right? This trade, this trade, this trade. This trade needs to be right. This trade needs to be my 20% gain. This trade needs to make 20%. Half of that is 10. That's what I'm here for. One trade. One trade. Start saying it in your head. One trade. That's all I'm here for. I need my one trade. When that one trade's done, go do another one trade, right? But just wait for that one trade. One trade. One trade. Start saying it every time you're looking at your charts. One trade. One trade. One trade. You need to instill this into your head. One trade. One trade. One trade. One trade. You need to put this in your head. All right, guys? One trade. One trade. One trade. Focus on one trade. What do we have to do? One trade. What's the goal today? One trade. One trade. One trade. 1%. One trade. 1%. Times 20. 1% times 20. And when I'm saying times 20, what I'm saying is when you go to your one trade, that it's times 20 right here on the margins, right? So it's, that says 20, which means every 1% I will make 20%, right? 20x, 20 times 1%. Boom, 20%. That's what we need. One trade worth 20%. That's what we're going for. One trade worth 20%. That's what we're going for. All right, so One Earth is also looking good, but we need to go green. Now, this is actually looking a little bit better because we're on the positive side. So we're going to see some positive movement here. And that's what we're looking for. And we have some room to run here. So this could be a small little push. But like I said, we need this MACD to go green, and it's not quite getting there, guys. One trade. One trade. One trade. I need one good trade, man. Help me find one good trade. Post all your 1 hour alerts inside the Discord, and then when you see the 1 hour alerts, you need to just run out of there and see if that is going to be a trade that we're looking for, right? So when you see these alerts in here, you see these alerts right here that I post, go look and find yourself which one of these trades actually has green, right? These are just letting you know that you need to go review those trades so that you can see if those trades are making money. One trade. One trade. I'm just waiting for one trade. I'm waiting for my one trade. I need one trade. How's One Earth doing? One Earth, we're waiting for our one trade. Green, 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 green. You have to play the percentages. Remember, when these are green and these are green, they will hit 8 out of 10 times for what you want. Okay? 20%, 2 out of 10 trades will go equal or break even for you. So you have to play the odds, but you have to play the game correctly. We need green here. One trade. One trade. We need one trade. All right, guys, stay focused and remember one trade. One trade.